There are a handful of topics that are dominating discussions as children return to schools. I'm Bill Anderson, and along with masking, vaccines, and all things COVID, there's another controversial topic that has a lot of people discussing and debating. It's critical race theory.
I just don't understand, and all in the name of equity? You guys are nuts.
The comments at recent school board meetings are often extremely divisive and followed by passionate cheers and boos.
People judge you by your character and performance, not by the color of your skin or your identity of choice.
Parents, teachers, and administrators have been digging in on one side or another, either explaining the importance of critical race theory.
By removing lessons, you remove the truth, and I deserve the truth.
Or arguing their view that it's creating an atmosphere of division and hate.
Ban CRT. We don't want your political advertisement to divide our children or belittle them. Think twice before you indoctrinate such racist theories.
But what is visibly missing from these glorified debates is any clear explanation of what critical race theory, or CRT, really is.
Had you asked the question a year ago, what is critical race theory, they would not have been able to answer you.
I don't think the people who are fighting against critical race theory actually know that it's a body of study by reputable scholars, that it's well researched.
No CRT! No CRT!
But regardless, that hasn't stopped school boards and legislators, both locally and across the country, from moving to ban the nearly 50-year-old field of study.
Every single one of these parents would step in front of a train for their kids. They will step in front of you too.
Our bill seeks to ensure that children are not shamed, blamed, or otherwise singled out for acts committed by others throughout history.
So what is critical race theory?
Does teaching our children that the color of their skin matters more than the content of their character in the best interest of our Commonwealth?
Everybody to be created equal, like a Martin Luther King speech. The problem with that approach, again, is that people aren't being treated the same, and race does play out in all sorts of ways.
We decided to sit down with teachers, professors, education experts, and hear from legislators to find out why has it become such a major issue now, and can better understanding help to close a divide that just seems to keep growing.
What are you scared of? What is it you think is happening? This isn't indoctrination, it's quite the opposite. It's allowing children to understand our history. It's to make them into young intellectuals, is what it is.
You don't even have to be that involved in education to know that critical race theory is heating up all over the country. But what is it that actually has people so divided?
Critical race theory is initially a body of research, a body of scholarship that came out of law schools. In the 70s and 80s, people were trying to figure out how the law had different impacts on different people, that the law, even if it's universal and colorblind and race blind and class blind on its face, it played out in ways that weren't that way.
The United States of America has a troubled past. And we had slavery, we had genocide of Native Americans, right? We treated Asians a certain way. This is our history. And I think to deny our students an understanding of American history is to cripple them intellectually. This is our history. How do we make sure it doesn't happen again?
The basis of critical race theory is that race and racism permeates the United States history and culture. The base of it is that race is socially constructed and not biological.
Among scholars and many educators, critical race theory is a very specific and pretty complex field of study that's taught almost entirely to college or even graduate level students. Are you teaching critical race theory?
Okay, the answer to that is a very definitive no. I don't know any public school district that teaches critical race theory, but it needs to be followed up quickly with we absolutely talk about race and we absolutely do things that help our students be critical thinkers.
Do we teach our kids that race is a social construct? Absolutely. I look at that as science. Race is not biological. Do we teach our students all sides of history? Absolutely. I look at that as history. We're teaching the history of the United States. Have we ever stood at the front of the class and said, this is critical race theory? Absolutely not.
And that's the sticking point for parents, educators, and legislators across the country. It's become a catchphrase that's being used to define any and everything related to discussions about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Supporters say discussing how race played a role in all aspects of our life is important if we want to understand and overcome racism.
You have a grandfather clause in a voting booth where I say, anybody can vote. It's universal. Every American can vote, as long as your grandfather voted. Right? When that law was created, black people were less than a generation out of slavery. So no one's grandfather had voted because they were enslaved. So it was a law that on its face was race-blind, colorblind, neutral, universal, but race shaped the policy.
While the opposition believes that accepting that race and racism played a major role in numerous aspects of our country's history, that will create an environment where some children will feel that they cannot achieve because of their race, while others should feel guilty because of theirs.
I see our schools going down a dark path, teaching racist and divisive theology to our children.
So what you may hear people arguing about at school board meetings, political rallies, and on social media, and being identified as critical race theory is actually much more broad than the field of study developed years ago. Today, it includes diversity, equity, inclusion, history, and any number of topics discussing race and racism in our country. So now, as we attempt to better understand it, why has an over 40-year-old theory become such a hot topic now? That's next. So now we understand that critical race theory is not a new phenomenon. It's existed in some capacity for decades, which begs the question, why now?
There's no reason that it's happening right now except that we need something to distract us and divide us. When we as a population are divided, we're much easier to control.
Some think the new debate about critical race theory is simply about politicians drumming up an issue to appeal to their base.
The people don't want it in our schools, yet the self-appointed elites who wrote it and our president are issuing grants to put it in as many schools as they can.
Others say it's a lack of understanding.
Critical race theory has sort of become a moral panic out of nowhere in American life, even in the last 6 months. And there's no empirical reason for it. Nothing is happening in the world to justify this response. The idea that elementary schools are teaching critical race theory, it's simply untrue. The idea that suddenly there's a big critical race theory push in curriculum for school districts around the United States, complete lie.
I think what happens is people will hear that phrase, and we've had inquiries. Hey, are you teaching CRT? And I refuse to have my child exposed to CRT. And I said, well, that's okay because we're not doing anything with CRT. But again, that related piece of we are doing things related to race and related to critical thinking, two of the three letters of CRT, that do deserve a conversation because they belong in K-12 education, and they can be controversial if you don't do it right.
Some believe that the opposition to critical race theory and diversity, equity, and inclusion training in general comes from a place of parents fearing that their children will be held responsible and made to feel guilty for our country's past.
It can be hard for some of our white students. It can be hard not to sit in guilt when it comes to, okay, I'm hearing what you're saying, racism, people, I'm a descendant of white privilege. They hear all those things, and it can be hard sometimes for kids not to sit in guilt.
And if we're being fair, there are parents who just don't want schools teaching their children about things like white privilege, systemic and institutional racism that they believe are better explained at home.
The district could easily, and with my support, educate students adding more culturally diverse material, but not with the current premise that our society is racist and not inclusive. It's a lie and it harms everyone.
There are people who have been convinced that there's this monster in the hills that they need to slay. And those people may be well-intentioned because they're being told that there is something happening in schools where white people are being hated and where people are taught racial superiority and all this other stuff. And I understand that.
Most of the people we spoke to, both pro and con, understood the concerns of parents who have questions about how to have the admittedly difficult discussions surrounding our country's history with race and racism. But the issue that many expressed was, how do we address difficult topics if we increasingly don't trust the people we empower to educate our children?
In schools, we don't want any child to feel that their racial background makes them bad or guilty, or that there's something wrong with them. And the reason why we have to continue to talk about race and racism is It's because there are many children of color in our schools who think there's something wrong with them. Because when they come in and they learn history or they read books, they don't see reflections of who they are racially.
That conversation is really important, to be able to have dialogue, and our students are much better at it than older people. They have not gotten so stuck in their ways that they can't hear other opinions and have meaningful dialogue.
If we don't train our teachers how to have these conversations, age-appropriate conversations with our students, then how are they going to know how to do it properly without making somebody feel uncomfortable or without creating a problem in the classroom?
And that's where we stand currently. A line in the sand between schools, parents, and educators who feel we have to find ways to have these uncomfortable discussions, and politicians and parents who are just passionately saying no.
Critical race theory is here in Penridge, though it never should have come. It needs to be purged from this great school district, and this is serious. This is not a right-wing conspiracy theory or conservative paranoia. CRT is a real phenomenon drawing objections from across the political aisle, and parents don't want CRT to be taught to their children. Students want teachers, not political advocates.
So if you disagree with critical race theory and other diversity, equity, and inclusion training that's happening in our community or schools, then how do you stop it? Increasingly across the country, opponents are taking it to court. That's next. Now, more and more with districts across the country focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion, teaching for students and training for teachers, what can parents who don't agree with this actually do? More and more, those decisions are being taken out of the hands of educators and put into the hands of politicians and the courts.
I again ask, does critical race theory serve the needs of this Commonwealth?
So-called ban CRT legislation started in places like Texas and Utah, but has made its way to our area, with school boards like Penridge voting to ban critical race theory and other things that they believe fall under the heading for the upcoming school year.
We're thinking about doing different career fairs and what have you, and having in our classrooms different texts or, books for children to read and those sorts of things. Basic introductions of diversity. What we wanted to halt was everything additional to that, which was really bringing into the school district things that weren't supposed to be part of it, wasn't part of the plan.
The ban CRT policy was a perfect example of the division that currently exists because many parents in Penridge voice vocal support for the ban.
DEI is the epitome of racism.
But their own district superintendent is on record opposing it. And the bans are not just among local districts. Currently, there's a proposed bill in the PA legislature to ban CRT and associated training statewide.
Our bill does not prohibit the teaching of history or violate any part of the First Amendment. Our bill seeks to ensure that children are not shamed, blamed, or otherwise singled out for acts committed by others throughout history.
Both of the co-sponsors of the bill declined our invitation to participate in this discussion, but the responses to fairly general bans on CRT, or diversity, equity, and inclusion training, have many confused and disheartened.
A lot of people who are opposing critical race theory are really saying we don't want any race talk. We don't want any history being taught that shows the true origins of the American empire. There are people who are actually just saying we feel uncomfortable talking about race and racism in our own privilege.
Legislators and school boards banning critical race theory say that it teaches concepts that can divide and damage self-esteem. So in the case of Penridge, the board vice president said they decided that more time and research was needed to make sure this is the right plan.
It covers every aspect of your school district. And in the DEI guidebook and other materials for DEI, it says that this initiative was going to be something that would kind of govern or be overarching for all aspects of the school district. And if that's going to be the case, then it is something that would require a much more comprehensive approach.
Penridge Board doesn't believe that halting their diversity, equity, and inclusion plan is about banning history or race talk. But if that's not the goal, many say it is the unintended consequence.
I think that's what's so confusing for teachers, because if I don't teach critical race theory and now it's illegal, what is it that I'm not supposed to teach?
So what happens when what trained educators and education experts feel needs to be taught differs with what some parents are comfortable with?
It's about just looking at, oh, Columbus, he 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Oh, the story is more than that. That is a piece of what we've been working hard to do for a very long time, is tell the right story.
Some believe you just keep moving forward because the topic is that important, while others say the fact that it is so important is exactly why they want to slow down.
You need to have a defined thing that you want to address. And then you need to consider different ways of addressing that problem. And that wasn't done, so it's kind of asking people to join in on something where the conclusion has already been made, and we've already decided how we're going to deal with it. And maybe if you had conversations, you would have picked a little bit of this and picked a little bit of that.
Do the arguments continue with it all being decided by who happens to have the voting majority in any given district? Or somewhere in this debate, can really divided sides find at least a point of conversation? It's a sad reality that with critical race theory, and honestly many topics, we spend way too much time talking at each other and very little talking to each other. So if we're serious about making progress, what now?
It's about relationship building, because if you build a relationship with somebody, it's hard then to have a hateful conversation with them. It's always about learning and growing and continuing to foster a positive relationship.
If you watch the political rallies, school board meetings, and debates about CRT, and honestly many issues, you'll notice one thing very clearly. There's a lot of yelling and posturing, but there's very little real discussion.
It's much easier to create a chant or create a soundbite. Critical race theory is bad, it's scary, it's coming for your kids, and then suddenly, like, everybody can rally behind it because it's easier to rally around a talking point. When you actually deal with the complexity of real life and scholarship, it's more complicated.
Some would say that it's by design, because if we stop yelling and start talking, we may find that we're not nearly as far apart as some would have us believe.
The war against critical race theory is a solution in search of a problem. All these people running around in Utah and Texas and Florida trying to create legislation to ban critical race theory when it's not even in play, it's to make people feel like something is happening. And it's not a war against 1619, it's a war for 2024. And a war for 2022. This is about elections.
Like it or not, many things are influenced by our political leanings one way or the other. But if you believe, as I do, that pro or anti-diversity training and CRT, most parents want what they believe is best for their children. We just have to collectively work through that with a focus on solutions rather than division.
Is having people together in a room, not standing at a podium for 3 minutes at a clip and, talking about these things in isolation. We have to have the conversations together. They have to be open and honest, but honest on all sides.
I'll be back with our final thoughts. So if you are the eternal optimist like I am, you truly believe that parents want what's in the best interest of their children. So if I could make a recommendation, let's all try to spend more time talking to each other, searching for solutions, and less time yelling at each other. I'm Bill Anderson, and on behalf of Bill Rohr behind the camera and everyone who worked on this special, thanks so much for watching, and have a good one.